Hi guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset master doctor and your leverage for change. So today I'm going to be speaking about some of the differences between a fearful avoidant attachment style individual and a dismissive avoidant attachment style. So although they're very similar in certain ways, there are some major differences. And first I want to kind of start with some of their childhood experiences that may have caused them to be in this position now as they grow up to be adults in adult relationships, right? So the fearful avoidant attachment style individual, the individual who will grow up eventually to have kind of like the dismissive side as well as the anxious side. These individuals grew up in homes that were quite volatile. Perhaps their caregivers were drug addicts, or perhaps they were just narcissists who just was just more concerned about themselves than their children. And so what happens is that this child would have been left a lot on their own. And not only left on their own, but if they have siblings, they were expected to take care of their siblings. Now, they never got a lot of, they were very, they craved emotional contact and connection. However, the only time they got it, it was one-sided. It was a taking of something from them. Like for example, a mother who has been abused may use that child as a kind of a comfort blanket and hug them and cry on them and do stuff like that. And so that child experienced that kind of emotional connection, but it was always one way, the parent or somebody else taking that from them. So as adults, these children who was treated in this way and also never got any kind of a emotional given kudos except for when they were helping others. So they had to take care of their siblings, so they got a little kudos for that from their parents, but otherwise they would not have that kind of connection. So these individuals grow up wanting to people please until they hit a brick wall and they cannot give any more of themselves, and then they become resentful, and then they become they maybe just lash out. The fearful avoidant individual also is they had that emotional disconnection with their parents kind of caused them not to trust relationships. They cause them not to trust relationships to last, or they always believe that they're going to be used in relationships, right? So they go into relationships, and if they crave relationships, they crave that emotional connection. But when they feel that connection getting too close, because they are afraid that person will leave and they've gotten so close to this person, they will in fact leave to make sure, as a way of thinking that if I leave now, I won't be hurt because I'm the one who left, that kind of a thing. So this is how, with a fearful avoidant individual, it will always be a kind of a push-pull kind of relationship, on and off. You'll hear that description when someone is with a fearful avoidant. Now, the dismissive avoidant individual, this person, when they were children, it might not have been that there was a volatile kind of thing like drug addicts or stuff like that. Maybe perhaps what happened with them is that the person worked, their parents, they were always busy working, so they never had time to really have that sit down and really just connect emotionally with their child, or they chose not to for whatever reason. They chose not to. So this child was very uncomfortable, is now very uncomfortable with emotional connection. The other thing is, this child never, if they reached out at the beginning, when they were smaller children and they're crying and they had some needs and they're crying and wanted to be comforted, they were probably pushed away or said, go and sit down, I'm going to bring the food to you, or something like that. they were not hugged, they were not cuddled, they were not, they didn't know, their caregivers didn't sit with them and say, talk to them in any nice way, or just kind of just cooed with them, like babies when they're babies, and the parents will look at them, and that they don't have that connection to that of a person looking at them with love, and that they don't have that connection. So in intimate relationships, it's very hard for them to have that. They're not going to be able to do that unless they work on themselves and learn to do that afterwards. So the fearful avoidant, the difference between the fearful avoidant and the dismissive avoidant. The fearful longs for connection, but only for a period of time. They can't take it. They don't trust relationships, so if they're getting too connected, they will leave. They will leave and come back. They may come back, but then that's when you hear the on-off description being used by their partners, right? The dismissive avoidant attachment style will not want that much connection. They are quite comfortable by themselves. So that's a difference. The fearful avoidant will long for connection and keep going back and forth, whereas the dismissive avoidant really don't want that connection. And even when they're with someone, they will take time to be by themselves. As a matter of fact, their alone time and their independence is more important than their partner. It's just the way, because and the difference also between the dismissive and the fearful is that the fearful didn't quite learn how to self-soothe. And to the extent, remember guys, before I say that, every attachment style is always going to be on a spectrum. Nobody is completely dismissive, completely avoidant, completely dismissive, completely fearful, or completely anxious, right? Even secure is not completely secure. They're going to have little bits of anxious parts or something else, or dismissive parts. So always recognize that a person is made up of all of these attachment styles, but the primary way of reacting to situations is going to be the main attachment style that's attributed to that person. So just recognize that it's possible to have little bits of other attachment styles as well in the same person. All right, so for example, a dismissive person is going to be less wordy. They don't talk a lot, right? And when you're talking, they're going to want to say, all right, can you hurry it up, or just whatever. They're going to want to say that to you, right? They'll say that to you. They don't like long conversations. They're very short and to the point, whereas the fearful avoidant individual will sit and have deep conversations. They're comfortable with that. They want that. They crave that. They actually like that until it becomes too much, right? The fearful avoidant individual does not have any boundaries, because as children they didn't have a boundary. If something was wrong, the parents would come, the mom would come and hug her. Everything that they did was always out for others. So they feel that they have to do everything for everyone else, because that's how they grew up, because taking care of others was their thing. So the fearful avoidant as they grow up, they are not going to be focusing on themselves. They're always trying to help others. So you might see these individuals in also organizations where they help others, right? So maybe the Salvation Army, volunteering sometimes out. A lot of these individuals, they just feel they have to help others because they had to take care of their siblings, they had to take care of their parents when they were kids. So it's just something that's ingrained in them. Now the dismissive, they have very good boundaries. You can come this far and no further, and it's very consistent. And you can tell it from even the beginning of the relationship that this person, you can go this far as soon and they don't want you to come any further. They will not be telling you, the dismissive avoidance will not be sharing their innermost feelings and emotions with you, whereas the fearful avoidant is very comfortable sharing their inner feelings and emotions with you. They're very warm, and this is a fearful avoidant. They're very warm and want to connect with you emotionally, but as I say, after a while, when it comes too connected emotionally, they will run because they don't trust that it can last. That's pretty much it. Now, the dismissive avoidant person will speak more in terms of logic. I think, you ask them anything, and even if it's something about something emotional, it will be more in terms of logic, I think. Whereas the fearful avoidant will speak more in terms of emotions. I feel, right? The dismissive avoidant individual does not take criticism well at all. As a matter of fact, if you do that, that is going to push them away, right? The fearful avoidant will, be upset at the time they're criticized and maybe cuss out the person and, make a rant and rave or whatever it is they do, or just ignore the person and really kind of isolate themselves from the person. But they will come back after a while and to come to the, to connect again with that person. Whereas the dismissive can stay for days once they're criticized and not connect with the person. They feel very comfortable on their own, whereas the fearful avoidant does not. The dismissive avoidant attachment style does not care about what other people think. They don't really care, so they don't ruminate a lot on what does this person think about me kind of thing. They don't really care. They go about and do their stuff and isolate when they need to isolate and, soothe when they need to soothe, whatever it is. The fearful avoidant, though, everything they do is almost to impress or to honor others outside of themselves. They're always looking to please others outside of themselves. So they're always thinking about, how does this person like me, or does this person not like me, or why does this person not like me, that kind of thing. Whereas the dismissive avoidant is at the very opposite end. The fearful avoidant, as I mentioned before, did not learn how to self-soothe. But it also depends with the fearful avoidant, because they have the two sides. It depends. They can self-soothe in their dismissive role. If they're with an anxious person and they are more now showing up as more dismissive in that relationship, right? Because they're triggered by the anxious person, always wanting to be there because they feel suffocated, then they'll become more dismissive, and then they will leave and they will do something that maybe they've learned from childhood, whether it be gaming, whether it be, and some go into some really bad practices like pornography and sex with prostitutes, and that's, they find some other way to self-soothe than to look to their partner, or to their caregiver at the beginning, now to their partner to help soothe them. They know how to self-soothe, right? It's the same thing with the dismissive. If the dismissive feels that they need to self-soothe because there's just too much emotional intensity, they are also going to disappear and go and do maybe binge watch TV, Netflix. They may go and find, they may have multiple partners. They may watch pornography, do a lot of gaming. So these are ways that they've, different ways, whatever it is. It could be a hobby. It could be working out excessively. So they will just go to the gym, to kind of almost like silence that pain or criticism or whatever it is that they are dealing with. They learn to self-soothe by doing that. Maybe they're gym rats, as they call it, and they're always at the gym. It's because they're pushing away all those emotions, and that's how they self-soothe. And then after they feel regulated, then they will try and get back into connection with the person, or some person. The fearful avoidant are really not very good at expressing their needs, because they're always looking, doing for others, and they have no boundaries. So, people will always be asking them to do stuff. They don't, and they never ever say, I can't do that, I need to do this. They will abandon their needs, neglect their needs to please others. So this is a people-pleasing aspect, right? Whereas the dismissive will express their needs, but the way they express their needs is more in their behavior, by leaving, or by being sulky and upset, or just pouting, that kind of a thing. So guys, I hope that I kind of give you some kind of idea of the differences between these two attachment styles that are so close. And I would like for you to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you found any value in it. Also, guys, always remember that even though you may have these two, the two avoidance, the dismissive or the fearful attachment style, it is possible to change them, because I hear from a lot of individuals that they keep going into the same relationships and the same thing keep happening. They know something is wrong, but they never reach out for change. It is possible to change these attachment styles, but it's going to take work, just the same way that anything takes work for change. To change a pattern is going to take work, and it's going to cause a little bit of a pain. It's going to cause pain. I'm not going to sit here and pretend and tell you that it's not going to, because you have to go through a couple things that you have to really face to be able to go past it. All right, but it is possible to happen. And if you have someone who's going to be there for you no matter what, guys, I think that you should really invest in yourself, because whether or not you choose to change, you're going to be still in pain, because you're in pain of the way that you're responding now. You're in this chronic pain which you've suffered all your life from neglect or anxiety, and you're always in that pain, and you're always going to go choose partners to be in that pain, in that and to maintain that pain, because that's all you know, until you work on yourself to change those toxic patterns and come to the awareness of what needs to change. Nothing will change. So I really hope that you will choose, because it's a choice, choose to work on yourself to become a better you and a more healthy you and a happier you, right? Because you've chosen to work on yourself to become more secure. All right, guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset master doctor, and your leverage for change. Take care. Keep growing.